Welcome back to Joe Stunner Boxing. Jazza Dickens scores what is probably the best win of his career, and he picks up one of those WBA secondary bits of jewellery, international thing. But that's not the point. The point is that he beat Zelfa Barrett over 10 rounds in a fight that Barrett was certainly favoured to win. Barrett is naturally the bigger man. He's 31 now, the Brown Flash. This was only his third defeat. 31 wins with 17 KOs. So he was the red hot favourite. He was coming off a win over Jordan Gill, 10-round TKO. And Gill was down twice from body shots in that fight. Good competitive fight up to that point. Now, you may remember that back in 2022, Barrett had a world title tilt for the IBF super featherweight title against Shavkatson Rakimov. He was stopped in 9 rounds, but he did have Rakimov down in the 3rd round, and he just seemed to sort of run out of fuel a little bit. Rakimov recently has had 3 knockout defeats and actually had a brain bleed. I made a video about it a few days ago. But at the time, he was flying, and there was no shame in losing to Rakimov. But when you consider that was in 2022, this James Dickens fight was only his 4th fight since 2022. It was the back end of 2022, like October, November, December time. But he hasn't been busy enough, really, Zelfa Barrett. And it kind of showed, because when you consider that Jazza Dickens, 2 years older at 33, a southpaw, I wouldn't say he's been ultra busy either, far from it. But he's fought. First of all, he's fought at lower weights. I think he started off as a super bantam, and then he did start off as a super bantam because his first defeat was to Kid Galahad all the way back in 2013. Can you imagine? That was a 10th round TKO. That was for the British super bantam title. He also had, I think he lost to Guillermo Rigondeaux 2016 roughly, and that was for a belt. It might have been the WBA super bantam belt. And then he lost a technical decision to Thomas Patrick Ward, who was undefeated. Rigondeaux stopped him in 2 rounds. He busted Dickens' jaw in the 1st round, and they pulled him out. In the 2nd round, it was a bad defeat. He then lost a technical decision to Thomas Patrick Ward, who at the time was undefeated in 20. And Thomas Patrick Ward's a very good fighter. You know, he's still, I think he lost his last fight mid last year to Reece Edwards over 10, but that was only his 2nd defeat. He's got 34 wins. He doesn't hit very hard, but he certainly he managed to outpoint Jazza Dickens. So that's back-to-back defeats back in 2016, 2017. And then he rebuilt, and he had a 2nd fight with Kid Galahad. This was for an IBF World Featherweight title, a vacant title, and Galahad stopped him again, this time in 11 rounds, and he took a beating. He took an absolute shellacking in that fight. His face was busted up. It was horrendous to look at. And since then, he had an IBO World Featherweight title fight in Dubai against Hector Sosa. Got knocked out in 10, and that was a bad knockout. So this guy's had some bad knockouts. Bad knockouts, Jazza. In 5 fights, he's been stopped 4 times, and he's had some beatings. All right. So a lot of people were saying you could knock it on the head, otherwise you're going to be walking on your heels later on in life. But he's continued, and I have to say, this was probably the best I've ever seen him look against Barrett. Now, Barrett has the 2 previous defeats Barrett had, as the commentary team pointed out, were to southpaws, which is what Jazza is. But you were thinking he's a much bigger fighter, physically bigger fighter than Dickens. He surely got this. But Dickens, basically, he was so crafty in there and so intelligent. His boxing was intelligent. He was making the most of the southpaw stance. He was getting in close. I'd say at mid-range, it was a little bit dangerous because Barrett could let his hands go and had that space to fire the long levers. But when he was up close, Dickens would sort of move in very quickly and then ping Barrett. And he was varying his punches, and they weren't just single punches either. He was letting a couple of combinations go. And Barrett most importantly of all, he was breaking up Barrett's rhythm. Barrett couldn't get any kind of rhythm going. He couldn't let his punches go. He looked in two minds as to which punch to throw, what type of offence, what angle to come from. He was moving back in straight lines at times when Dickens was sort of feinting his way in. And Dickens was he was punching between Barrett's punches. And it wasn't a thrilling fight, really. It was a sort of intriguing, somewhat absorbing fight from maybe the halfway point onwards, because after 5, you were thinking, wow, Dickens has got this, if he continues. Then I think in the 6th, Barrett started to let his hands go and may have stung Dickens. I can't remember what it was. It a body punch? But you could see him back off. For the first time, he looked a little bit perturbed. And Barrett, you thought, okay, he's lost the first half of the fight, but maybe he can turn the screws. It's only a 10-rounder, not a 12-rounder, so he really had to get his skates on. But just when he needed like a string of 2-3 rounds in a row where he really took hold of the fight by the scruff of the neck, Dickens came back. Dickens started to, again, pop him, very intelligent, lots of side-to-side movement, and lots of feints coming in from Dickens. Very, very impressive performance. And at 33, I mean, that WBA thing that he's got, that belt, will get him a ranking. Who knows? I mean, he fought Galahad for a featherweight belt. He fought Rigondeaux for a super bantam belt. Maybe they say things come in threes, but when you consider that horrendous knockout that he had against Sosa, and the beat down, that he had against Kid Galahad second time round, and his previous defeats, busted jaw against Rigondeaux, I mean, this is a tremendous, tremendous win for James Dickens, and he's a blue collar fighter. As for Barrett, it's he's 2 years younger at 31. He's now got to get himself a big win, or he's out of the running, because he didn't look good in this fight. And maybe it was the southpaw stance. Maybe he's just vulnerable to southpaws. I don't know. But for James Dickens, he's setting himself up for another couple of paydays. I think he's got Tony Bellew supporting him as well, mentoring him, or maybe involved in his management, I think. So the connections are there. But a terrific win for James Dickens, and well done to him, good old Jazza. Sometimes you see, if at first you don't succeed, try again. That's what he's done, and yeah, he's made a believer out of me. I'll tell you what, a few years ago I thought he was finished. Not a bit of it. But Zelfa Barrett will need to come back, because it's a bad defeat. Anyway, let me know what you think of this fight. If you saw it, it was on the undercard of Jack Catterall and Arnold Barbosa Jr. Leave your comments below. Please subscribe to the channel if you're new, and hit the like button. Why not? It's free. You're helping us out, and spread the word about the channel. I really, really do appreciate your support. Plenty more to come tonight, and I'll catch you later. Bye for now.